So, hey, this is Brian with ActiveMelody.com, and this is my buddy
Bryce, and I'm actually on the Active Melody forum.
He had to think about it.
I did have to think about it for a second.
So Bryce is here from Alaska, and he happened to be in the Nashville area, and I thought this would be an awesome opportunity for us to get together and create a lesson showing you how to have a jam session with a buddy. So that's what the premise of this lesson is. And so we've got the lesson split into two parts. In this video we're going to learn the rhythm part, which is what Bryce played, but there's also a part 2, which will be the lead part, which is what I played over that. And the two work really well together. So if you have someone that you can play guitar with, this would be an awesome way to learn, and you force each other to stay in the same timing and all of that. If you don't have a jam partner, you can download the MP3 jam track and practice that way, and I'll have one for the lead and one for the rhythm. So Bryce, while you're here, anything you want to say to Active Melody Land?
It's very good to be here, and it's a little strange to be on the other side of the camera.
It is strange. I've never actually met Bryce face to face until he came.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, very cool, very cool. It was a long flight from Alaska, but it was well worth it, and I got some really good guitar playing in with Brian. It's been a lot of fun. I've learned a ton on Active Melody, and I was actually able to apply a lot of that inside and outside of being in Tennessee, and it's just really good to be here.
Yeah, and Bryce is an awesome guitar player. I mean, you get to see a little bit of that there, but we've been sitting around on the back porch picking and annoying the neighbors and stuff.
And the dog.
and my little dog Arlo, which I was gonna bring Arlo in. I thought that would be kind of cool. Maybe the next video, Arlo can make a guest. Maybe we can have a jam session with Arlo. That would be really cool.
He's a hell of a player.
All right. So I've got the lesson split into two parts. In this video we're going to take a look at Bryce's rhythm. If you'd like to watch the part 2 video, which will be the lead part, as well as download the tablature and the MP3 jam track, you can go to ActiveMelody.com, go to the lessons page, and do a search for EP209. So let's go ahead and get started with the rhythm. Alright, so in this video we're going to break down the rhythm part that Bryce played. And you'll find that it's really not that difficult to do once you get into it, once you get the right hand in motion. Let me go ahead and play through it one time on its own so you can see what it sounds like, and then we'll break it down and I'll show you how to do it. So here's what it sounds like on its own. Really cool little groove, and it works really well over the chord changes. So that's over a G minor chord, then we'll go to a C minor chord, but it doesn't matter what chord you're on, that rhythm stays constant throughout. Now, one little side note, as we were coming up with the lesson this week, you know, Bryce and I were kind of I was throwing some ideas at him, and he was throwing some stuff at me, and I came up with that, and I said, what about something like this? And Bryce said, oh no, that sounds too difficult. But within the course of about 5 minutes, once I showed him it's really about keeping your right hand in motion, he was doing it and doing it really well. So I just mentioned that as a little point of encouragement, so that if you are listening to that going, man, there's no way I could do that, you can do this. This isn't that hard, and you'll see that as you start to break it down. So it is in the key of G minor. So the first thing you want to do is you want to visualize that G minor chord shape. Now I'm actually using these two fingers. If you think about playing them down here, that would be the E minor shape in first position. But if you slide them all the way up, these two fingers up to the 5th fret, strings 5 and 4, and then we bar on the 3rd fret, use our index finger as our capo, think of it that way. Now we've converted that E minor shape up to a G minor. So that's one thing. The reason I mention that is all these notes, they relate to this chord shape. So if you wanted to do this in the key of A, then it's very easy. Just find that chord and you'll see where this rhythm lives within the chord. The other thing you want to think about is the minor pentatonic scale pattern 1. And I go through all 5 patterns in the blues lead course at Active Melody, so you can check that out if you need to. But pattern 1 for G minor looks like that. Now these first 2 notes we're going to play come right out of that pattern 1 scale, minor pentatonic scale for G. So it's a downstroke, just a single downstroke with the right hand. And then there's a hammer-on with my left hand between frets 3 and 5. This is on the 4th string. You can do that. That's not too bad, right? So far, so good. Okay, now the next thing that happens is we're going to go a muted down and a muted up. So once I start that, my right hand now stays in motion. And it stays in motion the whole time like this. Watch this. whether I'm playing a muted strum, whether I'm not playing at all, or whether I'm hitting a note, that right hand just stays in motion. So that'll be the key to the whole thing. So once we have this, we have our muted down and our muted up. Now we're going to do a downstroke, but when I play the downstroke, I'm going to bar the first 3 strings with my ring finger on the 5th fret. Play that, and then I'm going to bar the first 3 strings on the 3rd fret and do an upstroke. But I'm just trying to hit those top 3 strings. So it goes like this. So try that again. If you need to loop it at that point, just keep that right hand in motion. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're going to play a series of upstrokes. It's going to be up, 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 up. So that's on the. So I started with a single note on the 3rd fret 4th string, up, and I kind of hit the guitar as I come down to keep that rhythm sound going, like that. You don't have to do that, but it helps me to keep the groove going, like that. And then you do the up, and that's barring the first 3 strings there again on the 3rd fret. Up, so it goes up, 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 and then a down, and then a muted up. Now if you're overwhelmed, you could pause the video and take notes if you want, or if you're a premium member, you have access to the tab, and I have all of the strokes in the tablature, so you can follow it that way, if that helps. Up, 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 down, muted up. And then my hand is all the way up and it's ready to come down on the 4th string so that I can start the whole cycle over again. And here's what it sounds like slowly. And if you happen to bump another string while you're doing it, that's okay, especially if you've got another guitar player playing along. That'll cover a lot of that up. And if you happen to be doing this kind of a groove in a full band, nobody would ever hear it. But you know, try and be as accurate as you can. But that's the whole thing. You can loop that, and if you don't have a metronome, or if you don't have the jam track that comes with this to practice along with, and maybe you're just wanting to learn this rhythm, try and find something, tap your foot or whatever, but slow the timing down to where you can comfortably do it. So get it really slow at first, and then slowly increase that over time, and your muscle memory will kick in. But I would say in the course of 5, 10, 15 minutes of just working on that, you should start to feel that groove just popping out of this rhythm. That's kind of a good way to describe it. It's like the groove just kind of presents itself. Okay, so that's what we play over the G minor, which is your 1 chord. Now, in a blues, you have a 4 chord, right? So where's the 4 chord in this case? And we're staying minor. So that's a C minor. Now, just to keep it simple, I'm using that same chord shape, but we're just playing it up here. So we're playing our C minor here. That makes it easy. Now we can take the same thing we just applied over the G minor chord and apply it up here. And then you have the same groove, but you're playing it over C minor. So now I can play the G minor chord shape here, and I can play the C minor chord shape here. Here's what it sounds like if I just do the 2 back to back. So you can see that it works. Now you could obviously, if you wanted, over the 5 chord, the minor 5 chord, the D, you could play that up there if you wanted. But we didn't do that. We played it for the 5 chord. We went to a D7 sharp 9, which which Bryce played down here. And this was Bryce's idea, was to do the sharp 9, which is a cool 5 chord. It gives it a kind of a jazzy, funky feel, especially since he played that, and then he slid it up 1 fret, which would be an E flat 7 sharp 9, and then back to the D7 sharp 9. And the only reason for that, the only way to think about this, you don't have to think about E flat sharp. Just think about if you're making that chord shape, even if you're just making the like a 7 chord, for example, for your 5 chord. If you slide it up a fret and then go back, you have a really cool way of presenting that 5 chord. And even no matter what you're playing from a lead perspective, you can just stay doing what you're doing, even if that chord changes, and it's still going to work. It's kind of cool. So let's go over how to make this chord shape. So what I'm doing is I've got my middle finger and my ring finger on the 5th fret, strings 5 and 3. My index finger's on the 4th fret, 4th string. That's a D chord shape, D7 chord shape, sorry, that you learned down in first position. You're just playing it here. And then you just take your pinky and you put it on the 6th fret, 2nd string. And by adding that, you take what would be a 9 chord, which is one you've probably played before, right? It's a pretty good good chord, slidable blues chord, but by moving that 9 up one, you're sharping the 9. That's why it's called a D7 sharp 9. And some people call that the Hendrix chord because Hendrix would use that in songs like Purple Haze. But that's the chord. Then he goes up, played like the E flat 7 sharp 9, and then back. And the rhythm for that goes something like this. Down, down, up, down. So say that to yourself. Down, down, up, down. And then you slide it up and go up, down. You slide it back and go up, down. So think of that up, down. Just remember, start with up, down, down. And then you're back. Now obviously for the sharp 9 chord you could strum that however you want, since it's breaking the funky rhythm that we had for the 1 and the 4 chord. But that's pretty much what Bryce was doing. And then you stop there and go right back into the 1. Now remember, if you've got a jam buddy, someone that you can play this with, you know, one of you work up the rhythm part and then the other person can play the lead part, and then you can switch it off. And that would be an awesome way to practice, you know, doing both parts. That way both people are playing both parts. But that's the premise. If you don't have a jam buddy, no problem. You've got me to jam with. I've got a jam track that I've included with this so that you can play along with that. And that's a great way. The reason that I do that, that we have those, is because it makes practicing fun. It's like having a little jam session, and it keeps you on tempo. That's the other big advantage of having a jam track to play along with, is that, you know, you got to stay in timing. All right, so that's what we have for the rhythm part. Let me go ahead and play through that one more time, and that'll wrap up this video, and then I'll see you in part 2 for the lead. So here we go. And that's how we ended it. I forgot to mention that. It's just a walk up. 3rd fret, 4th fret, 5th fret,